afford a lawyer to inflict consequences? Probably not. Definitely not if it's me. But the threat of consequences is usually enough to keep people in line. Let's try that then. The law is a command. This was the opinion of English philosopher John Austin. He said that laws are expressions of desire on the part of a sovereign, like a king or parliament, that people behave in certain ways. Those desires come to us in the form of a command backed up by a threat of force. Moreover, Austin said that laws are general commands. Kneel down. Bend over. Put on these cat ears. Those are commands. They are expressions of desire. And they are backed up by a threat of force. But they only apply to a specific person, time, and place. Laws, on the other hand, are general. They apply over a wide range of circumstances, people, and times.
Laws, or rules, properly so called, are a species of commands. A command is distinguished from other significations of desire, not by the style in which the desire is signified, but by the power and the purpose of the party commanding to inflict an evil or pain in case the desire be disregarded. If you are able and willing to harm me in case I comply not with your wish, the expression of your wish amounts to a command, although you are prompted by a spirit of courtesy to utter it in the shape of a request.
Austin's theory has some problems, though, some of which we've already mentioned. What is international law under this framework? Not much of a threat of force backing that up, so is it not real law? If an army invaded your country and started giving general commands for the population backed up by a threat of force, would that count as valid law? Austin's theory is a classic, but it's remembered these days more for being a good try than actually making sense. Kind of like the fourth Indiana Jones film. Solid effort, but nobody's favorite. Perhaps we should be systematic, rather than stabbing in the dark. The philosopher Joseph Raz says there are broadly 3 approaches for trying to define law, and the first is to check the dictionary. So, according to the Encyclopedic Textbook of American Law, the law is defined as access to the Encyclopedic Textbook of American Law can be purchased for $400 an hour. Damn it! The second is to ask a lawyer. And I could do it myself, but I happen to know a human lawyer who owes me a favor. Once upon a time, I gave him 7 years of fame, fortune, and dashing good looks, and he gave me his soul. So please welcome Devin from the channel LegalEagle. Oh, Devin!
Yes, Trixie, what is it?
What is the law?
This isn't even legal advice. There is no accepted definition of what the law is or is not, even among lawyers. I mean, if you ask a normal person, you're probably going to get an answer like it is the things that the legislature passes, the bills that then become law and then govern a certain given population. But if you ask a lawyer, they'll probably get even more granular, and they'll explain that while there are these statutes that are passed by a legislature, a government, there's also the Constitution, as well as the judge-made law. At least in the United States, we have a whole corpus of jurisprudence that is not passed by a particular Congress, but it is created in the common law as cases come before a court. The courts will then decide different things and fill in some of the gaps that are left by the laws themselves, or at least the statutes that have been passed. But then, obviously that doesn't include all of the things that qualify as a law within a given society. You have all kinds of unwritten laws, various formal and informal rules that a given population follows that may not actually be written into the law itself, but you create these norms and mores that people are going to follow. And then, of course, even if you're looking at the laws that are on the books or are created by different judges, not even all of those things are actually followed. So if you have a law on the books that no one actually enforces, is that considered part of the law? Well, that's an open question. So there's definitely a differing of opinion as between laws that are actually enforced by the state and those that aren't. And then you get into things like informal private laws. Is a contract between one person and another person in which those people agree to do or not do something, does that qualify as a form of the law itself? And this doesn't even scratch the surface of the legal positivism debate between H.L.A. Hart and Ronald Dworkin, which I'm not going to go into because, you don't pay me enough. So yeah, the law is a very complicated and complex subject with absolutely no agreement as to what qualifies and what doesn't.
A typically slippery answer. He won't be able to wriggle out of our contract so easily. Thank you, Devin.
Yeah, no problem, Trixie. It's my pleasure.
Well, fools though these mortals be, Devin did raise the interesting concept of rules and name-dropped an important soul with big ideas about what legal rules are. The philosopher H.L.A. Hart. Hart said that a legal system consists of two kinds of rules, primary and secondary. Primary rules require people to do or not do certain things, like don't kill anyone. Secondary rules allow you to alter the primary rules, or alter your own position relative to them by saying and doing certain things. For instance, the laws of marriage are secondary rules. They allow you to alter your legal position. If you go through the right processes, you could be lawfully wedded. One day. Perhaps. But as Devin said, society is full of rules. There are rules like don't kill anyone, and there are rules like don't burp at the dinner table, don't sleep with your neighbor's wife. How do we distinguish between the rules of custom and politeness and the rules of law? And remember, we can't pick enforcement as our criteria because laws are often unenforced. Hart said that at the bottom of a legal system is a master rule called the rule of recognition, which distinguishes all law from non-law. To say that a rule is a law is not to say that it is enforced or backed up by anything, merely that it passes the tests set forth in the rule of recognition. Those tests might be very simple, like everything the king says is law. They might be very complex, involving constitutions, legislation, and courts. It might even, and here's where things get really devilish, be unwritten. The test could just be whatever people accept as law is law. So the difference between legal rules and non-legal ones could be a matter of perspective. Hart goes on to say that there's a special perspective which comes with genuine legal rules. On one hand, you've got what he calls the external perspective. That's when people see the rules as something which forces them from the outside, for example, through a threat of force. But on the other hand, there's the special legal internal perspective, when people see the rules themselves as giving them a reason to act. The fact that the law says, do X, means I should do it. Not because it'll be good for me or because it's moral, but because it is the law. And what we're really talking about here is people viewing the law as authoritative, as giving them a reason to act. Raz says, imagine you have a dispute with your neighbor. He plants some trees that spoil your view and you cut them down, so he sues you. You take that case before an official arbitrator, like a judge, whose job is to consider the reasons on all sides. He spoiled my view, he destroyed my property, well, he only did that because I'm sleeping with his wife, and then to replace those reasons with authority. To say that whatever reasons you two had for acting the way that you did, now you get a new, final reason to do what I say, because I am the law.
The only proper way to acknowledge the arbitrator's authority is to take it to be the reason for action which replaces the reasons on the basis of which he was meant to decide. Dependent reasons are replaced by authoritative directives.
I can do a quick demonstration of this replacement idea now. There are many reasons why you should go to patreon.com/philosophytube and support this show. You'd be making me happy, you'd be making the crew happy, we'd get to make more of these episodes for you to watch and enjoy, but I can take all of those reasons and replace them with the authority that I get from this